Good day, my dear ones, my lovely friends. Last year, when we talked about begonias and how they rest in winter, I promised to show you the best way to store them. I didn't manage to film that video in autumn, but now it is spring. They have overwintered in the two ways I told you about. And people always ask me, so what is better after all? Can we simply put the pot somewhere? In a pantry, in a garage, wherever we have space, without digging the tubers out of the soil? I deliberately tried both ways. The ones I stored as tubers are already being prepared, and some have already been planted. But these ones overwintered directly in the pots without being dug out. So now I'll show you what the advantages and disadvantages are and how they look after winter. Let's take a look. Today is one of those days, already evening, when I'm taking everything out of the greenhouse and the garage. Now these begonias will be watered and placed where they will continue living and blooming. So what is the main point here? What are the advantages of storing them this way? Besides the fact that it is faster in autumn, there are basically no other advantages. Why? Look, for example, in my garage, where they spend the winter, my kids made themselves a little gym. Sometimes they turn on daylight lamps, and you can see that the begonias started sprouting very early, while it was still cold in winter. I will take care of them, and everything will be fine. They will bloom, so don't worry about them. But look, they are weak and pale. I also couldn't really water them properly there, because then they would have started growing even more, and they would not have had enough daylight. And what else? Look here. Not only did they wake up too early, so you have to constantly balance between watering and not watering. Here, for example, there was one large tuber. It will grow. I can see that it is doing fine. Although I cannot actually see the tuber itself, judging by the way it started growing, I can more or less guess that the tuber is healthy and alive. So let it grow this way. But I don't see it. You understand? When I store them as tubers, then I can see everything. I showed you. I treat them, prepare them, and then plant them correctly. But here it is unclear. Look at this spot. There were three tubers here. I can see that these two shoots came from one tuber, and this one came from another. But over here, I still see no real signs of life, and I cannot understand whether it will still grow or whether I need to dig it up and check if there is any disease, so it doesn't spread to the other tubers. When I dig it up, I can guess that it is somewhere here, but I might slightly damage the other two. I'll do it very carefully, of course. But digging around when stems have already grown like this is also not very good for the tuber. So you see how many nuances there are. Apart from the fact that in autumn it is very quick to do this. Just put the pot away and forget about it. Only wash the pot and cut the stems back. In spring you may end up with all these questions. You understand? This is possible as an option, yes, but carefully digging up the tubers, washing them, storing them separately, and closing them away properly is still better. So I don't know whether I convinced you or not. Write in the comments how you do it. But here is my experience if you store them this way. There is nothing terrible about it. Everything will be fine. I will dig this one up, and this will keep growing. Here there was also one tuber, and it has already made three little shoots. I knew these were healthy because they had been very healthy all season. I more or less understood that they reached autumn in good condition, so I left them this way on purpose to show you. But if you really want to preserve them well, it is still better to dig them up. That's it, my dear ones. I love you. Bye bye.